is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series kicks things off with a hat trick of fast, draft-heavy tracks. First, it was Watkins Glen. Then it was Daytona's road course. Now, it's off to Le Mans. And not just regular old Le Mans. This is the historic layout, which removes the Forza and Michelin chicanes. Comparable to places like Monza's combined oval in terms of speed, drivers will have to deal with white knuckles and gather up all their nerves to make it to the checkers today. We'll see who's got it as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Le Mans has so much history, I'm not sure how you hope to fit all this into a minute or two that you've got to tell the audience about this track.
Joe, I'm not going to take a minute or two. We're going to go right to the lap guide. No, honestly. Today, though, we are located just south of the city on the road to Tours. The 24-hour circuit has changed since its creation in 1923, that is, just a little bit. But the origin of this circuit closely related to the Grand Prix of France, which took place in the Sarthe in 1906. 31 turns today on this historic layout, Joe. Yeah, the big difference, those two chicanes on the Mulsanne straight are gone. Taken out in this historic version means speeds of over 210 miles an hour in this Lotus 49. Let's hop on board for another GSRC lap around Le Mans.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Le Mans. On the front stretch, you'll get a fair bit of momentum going, which means the Dunlop curve won't be flat out. Especially with the 49's lack of grip, you gotta try your best to tuck the car over to the right side of the track, which means you might get surprised by drivers sending a sneak attack up the inside into the Dunlop chicane. The tough thing for them will be getting the car both turned in and gunned off the corner quickly. You might be able to get them back accelerating under the Dunlop bridge. But the Chapel rundown is also not able to be taken flat out, so watch your line. In the Forest S's, it's important to try to keep the car tight to the apex. And then, coming off the right-hander, be careful with the gas as there's a big crest ready to send the car looping. Then it's a short squirt on the power before one of the most important corners of the track. The exit of Tertre Rouge can make or break your lap time. Being confident with your right foot will be critical. The very tricky Mulsanne corner will catch many drivers out with its kinked braking zone. It'll certainly be a balancing act. Not just the car itself, but how much time you can gain braking deeper versus being planted for a good run off the corner. Because once again, we've got a long stretch where every bit of speed counts. Now, in most cars, golf corner and no-name corner mean nothing, but with the 49 bouncing its way along with almost no downforce, they become very tricky. You've got to straighten them out as much as possible and try to avoid going through too wide. Then, you've got to set up for Indianapolis, which once again provides an incredible challenge with its kinked entry. Make sure you're able to hold to the right so that you can take as much advantage as possible from the banking on the left-hander. From there, you'll need to switch sides quickly for the best line into Arnage. This is one of the slowest corners on the track, and the wall to the outside provides little room for error as you accelerate. From out of there, the run to the Porsche curves is similar to the run up to Indianapolis. The kinks would be no problem in other vehicles, but in the 49, they're pretty hairy. Especially the braking for the Porsche corner. If you stay flat out, the car likes to jump out from under you. As you woe it up, the important thing here is to set up for each subsequent corner. The bridge curves are probably the most dangerous with that big blue wall ready to punish the greedy. Into the karting S's, things really begin to slow down even more. At this point, it's extremely important to stay tucked to the inside because you can get a slowdown penalty for going wide at the left-hander. Once again, Maison Blanche is no problem for modern cars, but requires a lift in the Lotus. Then comes the Ford chicane, in which the first left-right is surprisingly rapid. Just try not to get greedy because you need the car to be stable to slow up for the second half. The curbs are much taller here, but you can get pretty aggressive with them. Just make sure you can get to the power smoothly for the front stretch. And as you cross the line, you've now finished a lap around Le Mans.
there you see those high speeds that you're going to be reaching around here at Le Mans. But we won't be getting to that until qualifying is over. So let's look at the championships before we get to things proper. In the F1 championships, because both races have been won by Michel Dudignon, of course, he leads with maximum points, 100 of them. That means already we've got big gaps going back down the order. Mick Claridge, 18 behind, but he still could yet come back. He just had a bad race at Daytona last time around. Dave Price has been very consistent with a pair of thirds, getting him into third place, of course. And then Rob Olenek jumps up a bunch of spots with his second place, nearly took his first win on the broadcast, but it was not to be. We'll see if he could do it this week. Billy Bob Wright as well has finished fifth place both times this season. Now, we also have F2 driver standings. What are we looking at there, Sean?
We certainly do, Joe, and it's going to be David Rossi jumping up to the top of the board after a great result last week. The UK driver now 6 points to the good in front of Hideki Koivitso, hanging on to second place. Andrew Ang up the board in the third with a good run. He sits there just 8 points out. Alex Cameron, the UK driver, he's the one who takes the tumble down to fourth. But Robert Reynolds, another American, creeping up into the top five, 2 places up, just 16 points behind David Rossi in the F2 driver standings, Joe.
They also do a Constructors' Cup, but it's more of a Nations' Cup here on GSRC that we cover in the Lotus 49. But France, of course, it's very simple. With them taking both the wins, France is leading and the UK is in second. Now, the United States jumps up one there, you can see. Canada, of course, goes a little bit higher up. They're into fourth position. That's because of Velez and Morin scoring points there. And Finland stays put where it is. Both Kika and Koivisto have been contributing points. Hoping one day they can maybe try to compete for the top spots, maybe get some wins in this series. You never know. The Finns tend to be fast. But Sean, what are we in for today here at Le Mans?
Joe, we're in for a 10-lap race here in round 3 of 12 this season. Every iRacing season, 4 of them yearly, 12 rounds. This is round 3. Today, like I said, 10 laps here, and without those chicanes on the Mulsanne, they're going to be really fast laps. This is an open setup. It's always an open setup here in the Grand Prix Legends Lotus 49 series, folks. They work on them, they tweak them. You know, this Lotus 49, there's really not a lot you can do to it, Joe, but fast is something that does very well. The points will pay all the way to 25th place in this race. Joe, I'm ready to get going, but we've got just a little bit of qualifying time left here.
Yeah, and it's a big question mark on who can finish these lap, or at least the second lap. If you botch the first lap, you're really under the gun for sure. Dudignon, no surprise here. He's currently got the fastest one. Mick Claridge is all of about, actually nearly a second back, but this is a long track, so not as shocking as it would seem for our viewers who aren't used to this French circuit.
Joe, we have a visitor or an invader. Take your choice. I don't know. He's from Finland. He may be an invader. Fat Timu's here in a Lotus 49 this morning, so the legions... thousands, consequently millions of Fat Timu fans are probably here watching.
Well, here's the interesting thing. This is a very different car, so I'm not too shocked to see him only having qualified in 9th at the moment. So he's got a little bit of work to do, at least in qualifying. But again, it's a very small sample here to try and figure out how he's able to do, at least in terms of speed. I haven't even seen him in practice, so I'm not sure what to expect with Timu as we watch Billy Bob Wright currently sitting in 7th. Now, qualifying won't mean quite as much if you can get to that front pack. We keep talking about that draft, and the thing about the draft that always astounds me about this track, Sean, is that Mulsanne straight is so long that drivers aren't just going to swap positions once. They're going to get by each other multiple times. So it really is a question of, okay, where do you want the car to be, and not necessarily on who's fastest.
Yeah, no, Joey, really. So you want to be that guy that figures out a way to make that pass last, right? And get to the front. Although Now, you don't want to get at the end of the Mulsanne straight. You also don't want to wind up being somebody's breaking point either. That is something that we'll see if the drivers have control of today. Obviously, it takes a lot to stop this car, especially when you're traveling at 210 plus miles an hour. So where you get on the brakes there, that braking zone is going to be absolutely critical to making a clean right-hand turn and getting yourself all the way down into Indianapolis. So, yeah, it's going to be really, really tricky. Lots of passing, lots of swapping. Joe, watching drivers this morning, talking with some of them, they say that draft worth about 2 seconds, maybe even a little bit more.
That is a lot. Thankfully, solo qualifying, so that can't interrupt things. We're watching Michel Dunion trying to improve on his pole time right now as he comes up to the Ford chicanes. Now, good news for Michel, bad news for fans. Our winner last time we came to Le Mans here in the Lotus 49, Ove Trangrade, is not here today. So as Michel crosses, his second lap is faster by about 4/10. Mick Claridge is coming up next. Let's see what he can do. He's got a lot to improve, nearly a second to catch our pole sitter now.
Yeah, don't sleep on Mick. A lot of practice time this morning. That's a good one, Joe.
But is it good enough?
Not
It
quite.
is not. Ooh, within a tenth, though. Incredibly close.
Jeez.
Fat Timu, he jumps up to 6. A nice improvement for him with a 3:29.3. So he's found a little bit of speed second time around. As the last of our drivers complete the lap and the time ticks down, that is going to be it. We do have a number of them that did not manage to get a lap in as the planes fly over, the jets doing the traditional tricolor, smoke going by. Hopefully we'll be able to see them there. Looks like the sun is just covering them slightly there. We can finally see them coming. So let's go through the starting grid with Michel Dunion on the pole. Mick Claridge going to be flanking him on the front row. Rob Olenek, I still say he's found speed. He downplays himself, but he'll be starting third. Dave Price will be P4 at the drop of the green, with Billy Bob Wright starting fifth, row 3 completed by Timu. Marco Kika will be starting P7, Matt Wright in 8th, and Angelica Pawlowski also finding quite a bit of speed, starting 9th, and Bruce Nelson rounding out our top 10.
All right, here we go. I'll get the rest here. Joe Daniel Sadro starting 11th today, right next to Gary Teal in the number 5. Then you got row 7. It's going to be Richard Moore and Philip Burkport. Going to start there in 14th. David Rossi will start 15th today, right next to Andrew Ng in the 16th hole. Hideki Vitso, 17th place start for him. Paul Ferrer will start 18th. Simon Shaw in the 19th slot there next to Don. Tell me something good. Rounding out your top 20. Then we've got Michael Sullivan in 21st. Robert Reynolds 22nd. And 23rd, going to be David Cohen. And that's it. 23 Lotus 49s ready to fire off here in France.
And that tells you something about the health of this series. We're in the midst of the holidays. We've got people missing, and yet we've got 23 drivers out there today. That is a nice, healthy field for this series. I've been glad to see it taking off as well as it has. Just waiting for the last of the drivers to grid up. Then we get going for 10 laps here around the Circuit de la Sarthe. Angela Pawlowski, the last one. So as the engines start to rev, the lights come up. Green flag is out here for round 3 in the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, but it's a horrible start by second and third place, and that's going to mean that we've got Rob Olenek sticking his nose in, as well as Billy Bob Wright getting in there.
Dave Price making it 3 wide back there, Joe.
Indeed, and he gets himself up into second place. Things are all shuffled up at the top, but it looks like everybody is through clean in the Dunlop chicane. Angelica Pawlowski may have had a jump start. They are up to P7 in that number 10 car. Up to the ever-important Tertre Rouge, even more important now here with no slowing down as they head down the Mulsanne straight for the first time. And even though Michel Dunion has pulled a 7/10 gap before we're even a quarter of the way through the lap, that is not going to stay that way.
Joe Pawlowski pulling over, taking that penalty. Everybody driving by here.
Well, it's usually not a slowdown penalty for jumping the start. Might have a slowdown for somewhere coming onto the Mulsanne, coming through Tertre Rouge, I would assume. Up into the lead, we already got cars going side by side, and it's Billy Bob Wright overtaking Dave Price. McClarich now coming up to see if he can move himself up to the front. They've got to get this sorted out soon because they've got the Mulsanne kink, which is a bit hairy, and I think they all get through there clean. Whew, look at this front pack already breaking away, though.
This is frantic, Joe. Absolutely frantic. It's exactly what you talked about in the pre-race. Where do you want to be at the end of that straight?
Well, as they come through Mulsanne corner, it is Claridge, Wright, Price, Olenek, Toyka, Dudignon, and then they got to break to the next group, which is led by Wright. Well, Matt Wright. We've got Billy Bob Wright up at the top group.
The Wright brothers.
Oh. Except they're not brothers, so.
Yeah. There's that one thing.
Already we got a small gap there from second to third, but they close back in now as they break for Indianapolis. Claridge still leads Billy Bob Wright. Dave Price now sits in fourth. Michel Dudignon, he got demoted the most of anybody here, all the way down to sixth as he follows as the caboose in these train of cars. We ride on board with Teemu Toika, who's just ahead of him, who is right behind Rob Olenek. Boy, Bill Zahn would certainly love Teemu's paint, that bright blue that you cannot miss out there. Now working their way into the Porsche curves. Bridge corner, one of the more dangerous ones, with the wall being right at the outside of the circuit, but it looks like at least our top group makes it through clean. And now they get to stretch their legs out of karting through Maison Blanche.
Joe Pawlowski recovering back here, picked up a couple of spots, now making that charge back towards the top 10, trailing Mooring.
And Angelica does not pit, though. Now, I believe you have multiple laps to serve a black flag for the jump start. Oh, and we got a car off. That's
the Decky.
Philippe Urquhart. Looks like the number 14 spins himself around. I don't think there was contact.
Actually, there was contact. Got into the back of Hideki Koivica right there. And that's going to send Hideki around as well. Much better. Go ahead.
Yeah. He deals with it a little bit better, but he does lose a position. Hideki now sitting in 15th. Now, the good news for these drivers, with it being below 25 of them, they will all score points today. So there is reason to keep going, because you could still gain yet more if you overtake anybody who finds themselves DNFing very early on. Back onto the Mulsanne they come once again, Sean.
Yeah, and it was I'm watching Fat Teemu and Rob Olenek go at it. They were side by side. They're getting ready to go side by side again. Here comes Olenek.
Olenek to the inside. He's going to be able to easily slip through. Drivers working their way over 200 miles an hour in these cars. So they now come up to the kink. This is looking a lot more orderly than last time. Everybody gets single file by the time they get to the kink. I think they learned their lesson.
Oh, Dave Price going to the inside here on Billy Bob. Careful, boys.
Break for the kink down into the Mulsanne corner. Being led by Dave Price. Looks like it gets sorted out to Billy Bob Wright into second. Olenek now in third. Toyka takes fourth out of there. Claridge fifth. And Michel Dudignon, I think Michel's playing possum here. I think he is just waiting at the back, letting everybody else sort their stuff out. And then he's going to make his move later in the race. He's got a few laps to do it.
Yeah, no reason to get impatient here. Honestly, struggling with this car, manhandling it around here is quite enough to deal with here initially.
Look at the side-by-side action for the lead, though.
Back there. Did you see that back there in Indianapolis?
I missed it. I was watching the battle for the lead that we saw, and Billy Bob Wright comes out ahead of Dave Price. Rob Olenek tries to get by, but can't quite get through. Who was that making that slide, Sean?
That was Matt Wright going basically sideways there through Indianapolis. It was it was a little scary for Matt.
And I think we've had some cars have to take tows. Philippe Urquhart and Simon Shaw are both in the pits. Shaw has been in there for a while, but Urquhart has just sent himself in. Let's watch the replay of that slide now that we've got a moment. Oh, excuse me, this is Don Good.
Yeah, Don gets into trouble here. Joe was actually trouble next to him, but then he misses the braking point just a little bit, gets on him a little hard.
Ooh, wow, that could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Drivers did a good job of avoiding all the craziness that erupted down there into the braking. And that's the other thing that we haven't really mentioned, is that when you have these high speeds in this car, the braking zones are so long. I have to imagine that the variance in where drivers have picked for their brake markers is probably pretty wide.
Probably, Joe, and a lot of that probably has to do with how much you've practiced too, right? Exactly. You focused on or tried different points and you settle on something. If you haven't taken a lot of time practicing, then maybe you're used to one spot, maybe that's not the right spot. So, a lot going on here, a lot to think about and consider, but the battle up front still pretty intense. Honestly, you go first all the way back to 11th. It's still a very tight field.
Yep, and that second group is still tight together. It's got Snelson, Sadro, Wright, Teal, and Pavlowski all close together. Now, Richard Morin is within drafting distance, so I expect him to join the party here as they now come onto the Mulsanne one more time. There you see the first group with that gap back to the second. Now we look at that second group being led by Snelson in the number 9.
Yeah, and Morin's back there. He's getting a little bit of a run here. He's caught the toe, Joe.
Yep, I kind of figured that he would be getting with this group. Things swapping around up front as to be expected. There you see them at the front of the screen. Claridge now moving up into the lead, but he's going to be taken by Dave Price. Looks like Price is able to sneak through. Olenek sits in third, waiting patiently behind, but he lifts a little bit, gives them some space now as they hit the binders down into the Mulsanne corner. Nice and orderly through that 90-degree right-hander, and they accelerate again as they work their way towards Indianapolis. The thing that I'm curious about as well, can this second group, they're only 3 seconds back, can this second group potentially work together to catch the leaders?
I think they can, Joe. I don't know if they're working on it at the moment, but I think they can. Let's see. The next lap might yield some dividends. We'll see here.
A lot less orderly, though, here into Indianapolis with this second group. Look at them spread out as they break through the kink into the left-hander. Then back through the right-hander of Arnage, and yet another long straight. And it's hard to believe with all the long acceleration zones they have on this track. It used to be a lot more straightaway. They've added a lot of curves to this place.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the original layout I think was like 17 kilometers. It sits now just over 13. So it was bigger, it was faster, and it was scarier, if you can imagine that.
Yeah, really. Basically, these Porsche curves did not exist for quite a while in its existence, as we're currently being led by Mick Claridge. Now, this is good news for the Brit in the championship, especially with Dudoyan still sitting back in fifth. He hasn't quite made his move yet. He's overtaken Teemu Toika, but he is not up at the front. Remember, Claridge 18 points back. He needs as much as he can to start closing in after a bad finish at Daytona last week. And he just set the fastest lap as well. And Philippe Urquhart, who has been in the pits, has been joined by Simon Shaw for a second time. He just came in again, so he must have gone back out, decided the car was too damaged, and returned in there. Not sure what's going on with the number 12, but it's been something of a bad day for him.
Yeah, I'm afraid it has. And I got to be honest with you, I don't want to drive a damaged car here at all. So I'll pass. I'll pass on that.
Absolutely. There's a few tracks in this car. Well, I'm sure some would say there's many tracks in this car that are scary. But as far as me, with my experience in the Lotus 49, there's a few tracks that really rattled me, and Le Mans is one of them. It's so scary coming down this straight, the speeds that you've got, knowing that the slightest thing going wrong means that it is going to go wrong in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. And the speeds you're traveling, obviously, impact with anything. Yeah, there's not much chance coming back from that damage-wise.
Down to 7 laps to go. We're still not halfway through this race as our leaders continue to shuffle around. Mick Claridge being caught by Olenek with a head of steam, and he's now going to move up to the lead. Oh, side by side through the kink, and they almost touch. Dudagnon takes advantage of it. We said he was waiting for his moment, and this was it.
Gary Teal with trouble. He's got the car righted, Joe. Sorry about that, but that was back at P10. Teal slaps the wall, heading down the Mulsanne straight.
Wow, I can't believe he came away from that, but how much damage did he get? He has got to be kissing his lucky rabbit's foot at this point. We're going to watch from on board. And I talk about harrowing. This will really give you an idea of what I mean by harrowing, this on-board shot.
Scary right here. But Joe, he gets away with that, is able to fight back, get back past Daniel Sadro, and hang on to P10 right now.
And he hasn't lost the group ahead of him. He's still within about a second, so it's not lights out quite yet for him. Meanwhile, up at the front, Claridge has retaken Dudagnon. He leads. This is going to be changing a lot if you can't tell by now. Billy Bob Wright is now up into third. As, swap for position once again, heading into the Porsche Heures. Michel Dudagnon gets by. Not often you see passes into there.
Okay, this is starting to feel somewhat Talladega-esque, Joe, with all the passing going on here.
And we say that, and these cars have actually raced there now.
Yes, they have. Yes, they
we
have.
can legitimately say it feels Talladega-esque. All right, they're going to finish yet another lap coming out of karting. Down to the Ford chicane. Your order: Dudagnon, Claridge, Wright, Olenek, and Price for your top 5. That group still being joined by Toyka at the back in 6th. Wow, Mick really getting a little bit greedy on those curbs. Unfortunately, now cost him only a little bit. Again, doesn't mean a whole lot. Really, the danger there is losing the car, if anything.
Right, exactly. You don't want to pay with damage, right? Time penalty is one thing, but cracking up the car is totally another. Joe, that second pack still under 5 seconds, but they have dropped back a little bit. That trouble that Gary Teal had, and Matt Wright, Bruce Nelson kind of fighting a little bit. I think, honestly, that hurt them that last trip around. Pawlowski up another spot now into P8.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with how Pawlowski has been performing this season. Typically, we didn't see Angelica too high up. Now, P8's obviously not as high as I think they would want, but the number 10, it could be up into 7th, depending on how things go. And we never know if our leaders will have an accident that will hand over more positions. As once again, they're on the Mulsanne, and here goes Pawlowski, definitely going to get into 7th, at least for the moment. Building up speed as they work their way down. Looks like Pawlowski going to be joined by Matt Wright now. Side by side, swapping back with Snelson. It's a good... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Matt's got a decision to make here. Which one am I going with?
He's backing out of it. They're going to try to go side by side. I'm impressed with how many cars are willing to do that through that Mulsanne kink. They now come down to the braking. And it looks like that is going to sort itself out. No, it's not coming together. Snelson and Pawlowski losing multiple positions. How much damage do they have, though?
Neither one of them wanted to give there off the exit after they made the contact.
And I'll be honest, oof, that was a hard clunk. Yeah. Snelson kind of came in there a little bit late. I don't think he necessarily intended for that to be a pass. Just the car wouldn't blow up.
Certainly know that feeling. I'm on the brakes as hard as I can get on him, and it still won't stop. Like I said, there was no give there, though, after the contact coming off the exit. I'm sure that maybe ruffled a couple of feathers.
Yeah, nobody's happy after that one. Matt Wright now leads that group, and Gary Teal, after his crazy ride last lap, still finds himself in 8th place and now looking like 7th as he goes around the long way, which is going to be the inside down into the Porsche curves, but not brave enough on the brakes. So Teal stays in 8th.
I never want to be quick to call anybody lucky, but Gary Teal's living a charmed life right now, Joe.
Absolutely. 6 laps to go. Going to be 5 as they come to the line here momentarily. That'll mark our halfway point. Still being led by Claridge ahead of Dudignon. Olenek holding on in 3rd. This really is going to be a case of we have no idea who is going to win until it comes down to the end of this race. Potential pass for the lead there as that's Dudignon looking to the inside of the Dunlop curve, but that's going to switch back as the Dunlop chicane starts with a left-hander. He backs out of it, lets Mick Claridge hold on to it for now. Swinging their way down the Chapel rundown into the Forest S's, are the trickier parts to try and find the power. That little hump, no room on either side. And then you got to get the power down out of Tertre Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. Mick Claridge does not have the power down. In fact, he has a slowdown penalty. He's letting cars just go on by, and that is going to hurt.
It certainly is, and here comes Dave Price now getting a run at Mick after that slowdown. He may lose another spot here.
And Mick currently sitting in 4th and make that 5th as Price gets by. Now, Olenek was able to overtake Dudignon after that. And Dudignon looks to be lifting. He's just going to sit patiently, let the position change once and not really risk anything coming through the Mulsanne kink that they approach. Got a car flying up the inside. Who is this? That is Mick Claridge, actually, who's found his feet once again.
Watch out.
Wow, they get so close to each other. Billy Bob Wright almost had contact, not just with Toyka, but with Claridge as well. They're getting a little antsy, I think. They got to be careful how hard they're fighting like that.
I would agree. That's what I'm starting to see also. The patience that we saw in the first half of this race may be starting to erode just a bit as they all fight for the coveted top spot.
Ooh, big slide. Oh, by multiple cars, including Rob Olenek. He hits the wall, and he gets clobbered. Is that Billy Bob Wright who gets into him? How much damage does Wright have? And I think it's safe to say that Olenek is probably not going to be able to have much speed for the rest of this race as he gets it going once again. We're watching the replay.
And Rob just gets loose there, can't recover, and then it's Billy Bob that gets into him going by.
Yeah, and he couldn't really do anything about it. The car was just kind of on a course, and unfortunately it came to a halt on the racing line through Indianapolis. This is from Billy Bob's view. Yeah, and he tries to correct at the last second. He couldn't have known that car would wind up there. And I wonder, because when we watched the onboard from Olenek, Dudignon was the first one that I saw have a slide. And I feel like maybe that just unsettled Rob. And that little split second is what kicked that off. So poor Rob continuing to limp the car back slowly, is down to 12th, and I have a feeling he'll be making an unscheduled entry into the pits.
Well, Billy Bob's got pretty good damage on the front end of his car, Joe, and Mick Claridge giving good chase at the moment, but Billy Bob's still hanging on, riding here with 4 to go.
He's really not going to want to wind up alone by himself without the draft, because damage on that front of the car can affect your top speed. I guess, yeah, he stayed with him through the Porsche curves, which would really be the test if he had any sort of suspension damage. So I think that number 11 really got away pretty lucky. So he and Teal seem to be the ones that have their lucky stars with him today.
Exactly what I thought as you were saying. I'm like, okay, well, Billy Bob might have topped that. Yeah, Olenik's taking his car in, Joe.
Ah, what a shame. I really think he had a legitimate chance to take the win today. It was going to be a second chance in 2 weeks for him to get a win, and it has just evaporated. So watch our leaders one more time. Up the inside, that is Billy Bob Wright taking the points. Not letting that damage phase him at all, but it's not going to be for very long. Here comes Mick Claridge around the outside, but Claridge as well stalls out. And now they're 2 by 2, Noah's Ark. How long are they going to try and hold on to this? Are they going to sort it out? Claridge lifts, which means Dudignon has a chance to look to the inside, but he also has to lift. Momentum interrupted, puts Dave Price now into third for a moment. He also breaks early as they come to the Mulsanne corner. They sort out single file by the time they hit the right-hander. We were just talking about it a lap ago, Sean. And that lack of patience means that now it has gone from 6 to 5.
And that 6, well, that's being led by Pawlowski, who's leading a furious pack. But that pack is a full 9 seconds back now, Joe, from Teemu Toika. Teal getting by Pawlowski. Just back and forth, back and forth.
Yep, there we see them now working down to Indianapolis, which we watched our leaders go through. Who is at the back there trying to go side by side? That's Kika and Snelson, who sorted out with Snelson coming out with the top 10. Kika in 11th. Wild just seeing this train of cars following each other lap after lap. Up at the front, Claridge takes the lead back ahead of Dudignon. Billy Bob Wright as well sitting in third. And since the start of the race, it's also fascinating to me, Sean, seeing the behavior of drivers. You can really notice patterns because, again, Dudignon, he was consistently at the back. And ever since he made his move, I don't think we've seen much lower than third or fourth. And right now, he and Claridge are actually looking at a small breakaway.
Yeah, I don't know if that breakaway will last. Well, and that could have something to do with that damage that Billy Bob's riding with. You talked about that before. He really doesn't want to lose that draft. Only 3 laps to go. And you don't want to let him get too much further ahead.
And he's about a second behind. Now, I think the draft is powerful enough that he should still be able to reel them in, but I don't think he'd want to lose much more than that. He does have Dave Price and Teemu Toika with him, so he could let them slipstream by, and they could gain a bunch of speed. Now, meanwhile, Pawlowski has lost it in the Ford chicane, and that is Angelica losing it by themselves. The rear just going to come around in the second half of these 2 chicanes. 10 gets it going, but loses multiple positions. All right, as we come back live, Billy Bob Wright is still that 1 second back from the leaders. And that's just 2 of them, so they could leapfrog each other a lot more orderly than the drivers behind, potentially. Billy Bob's starting to gain now. All right, now he's caught it. It is coming down quickly. So crisis averted there.
Yeah, that's the run Billy Bob needed. So the damage not hurting that bad, obviously.
What about Teemu Toika? Did he have a slowdown? Because he's dropped back to a whole 1.5 seconds behind Dave Price.
Joe, I have to go back and look. I'm not sure. Wasn't watching Teemu there at the moment, but something happened.
Yeah, that's really weird. He's caught back up. He's within a second once they hit the braking zone here. Dudagnan is back up to the front. Wright was momentarily in the lead. He's now in second. Claridge sits in third. We're going to come up to the braking of Indianapolis soon here. Let's see if Teemu can really close in, because he once again dropped. He's back to a second. Is he... Either he's... I wouldn't think he's saving fuel. But Teemu seems to lack straight line speed, or something is going on here.
You know, last time at Attachment Rouge, Teemu really struggled with the car. Didn't see any kind of a slowdown, but it lost a lot of pace to Dave Price when he was struggling there. But now starting to close back in here. Price got his hands full in front of him as Mick Claridge and Billy Bob are really going at it at the moment.
Billy Bob really wants to stay in touch and keep himself in a good position, knowing it's going to take a Herculean effort. Dudagnan, however, a reminder, he did not win last time. He, in fact, lost it to Ove Trangrade with an incredible battle at the end. I have a feeling the Frenchman, having learned from last time, does not want to have it happen a second time in a row where he loses it on the final lap. They've got lap traffic up ahead of them. This is Robert Reynolds. I think, he's going to pull over on the front straight here. Probably going to let everybody through.
Probably not a bad idea.
Billy Bob Wright losing ground about a second behind Dudagnan, but Dudagnan now is a lone wolf. He does not have Mick Claridge with him. So that means he'll have nobody to try to gain extra speed with. Billy Bob slipping back to about 1.5 seconds. That's getting a little bit far away. Mick Claridge, I wonder, he's got to hustle. He can't let Dudagnan get too far ahead.
Certainly can't let Billy Bob slow him down. And that must be where the damage is really hurting Billy Bob. Obviously, is back in the S's and on the tighter turns, the car obviously not handling up to spec at this moment. But here comes Mick now with a chance to get in front of Billy Bob, maybe get back to Dudagnan. Dudagnan almost 2 seconds now.
2 laps to go, 1.5 really. As they fly down this straight, they're starting to gain a little bit of time on Dudagnan. They've swapped positions. Claridge now leading. Billy Bob Wright doesn't look interested in repassing him, though, knowing that Mick probably the quicker of the two. They're being caught by the cars behind of Dave Price and Teemu Toika. I think they're going to actually go all the way past them. They've closed it down. It's about 1.5 seconds up to Dudagnan. Is that going to be enough? Is the number 1 car able to break away here? They're going to be a little bit side by side. Big cut in on that corner from Teemu Toika. Is he going to get a slowdown for that? I've never seen someone cut in that far on the kink that you've got coming into Mulsanne corner, but it doesn't look like he's been given a penalty. He stayed with him.
Yeah, it doesn't, Joe. Listen, they've got any chance. They're going to just have to go get Dudagnan. Look at that. Oh, they're going to go 3 wide. Yes. Oh.
That was Teemu Toika going the hard way around, off onto the berm of the road, which can be very dirty in these cars. And he manages to make it work. Whew.
And I thought Mick had sent Dave Price around. They were just, I don't know, a thousandth of an inch from contact there.
So they're still about 2 seconds back from Dudagnan. I think this group has missed a trick. I think that them having Billy Bob Wright, who was behind Mick Claridge, had a big slide coming into the Porsche curves there. I think that them allowing Billy Bob Wright to get into second on that last lap may have cost all of these guys an opportunity at the win.
Joe, have we talked about Fat Timu enough? The fact that he's in second, and maybe don't sleep on him. If Dugnan makes any kind of a mistake, maybe Timu Toika gets himself a win here in the Lotus 49. Man, he really zipped through there.
And in his first Lotus 49 broadcast race, if I'm not mistaken, now he's 2.5 seconds back. But I know, and from watching him through those Ford chicanes, he is hustling the car. He is not going to sit on his laurels and give up on this. He's trying for the win, but you have to wonder if it's too little too late. Michel Dugnan is a rocket ship today, and I'm not sure that anybody's got the pace on him based on what we saw in qualifying.
Well, Timu is a beast through Ford and Dunlop, and has opened himself up a little bit here on Price and Claridge. Not going to mean much here, though, when we get to the Mulsanne straight. Is I expect Price, Claridge are going to team up on him here, and they're going to get by. I don't know. We'll see what Timu's got. Last chance.
I think these guys are actually going to have to work together rather than squabble for best of the rest here, because at 3 seconds back, unless they work together, there is no way they are going to be catching the Frenchman. They're going to be overtaken as Timu Toika slips down the order. Dave Price and Mick Claridge slipstream by. They've gained a little bit of time with that speed. Now Timu Toika going to come on back through, taking a whiff of the draft, getting himself a little bit more pace. 2 heads are better than 1, and 3 cars are better than 1 as well. They've cut it down to 2.5 seconds, but they're going to go 3 wide now as they get ready to break for the Mulsanne corner. This is not working together. They come together. Dave Price into the wall. And it's not over with the battle going side by side between Claridge and Toika. I think you can say goodnight for the win for either of these drivers. Toika now in second, Claridge in third.
Ooh, Timu going defensive there. Chopping Mick off. Mick coming around.
Oh, but he's on the inside of the braking for the first part, but it's going to switch back. Can he get fully through? Timu comes back at him.
Billy Bob.
Billy Bob just hitting the wall, but he hit it with the corner of the car. That's not good. Dave Price is actually still running after that huge contact, so he moves into fourth, and Billy Bob Wright with a 14-second lead might actually be able to come home with that top 5. Leading all of this is Michel Dugnan, already approaching the Porsche curves. A 3-second gap over Mick Claridge, who's fighting it out for second place with Timu Toika, duck into the inside into the Porsche curves.
Oh, this is a great fight here, Joe. Mick got the advantage at the moment, but here comes Timu fighting back.
Can't quite get him. He's going to get a last stab, though, down into the Ford chicane. If he can stay with Mick, won't be the draft necessarily. It'll have to come down to who's braver on the brakes. Mick Claridge going a little bit wide, though. He's got to be careful of a slowdown penalty, and I don't think he got one. He looks relatively safe. I'm not sure that we're going to have time to watch that, though, because already Michel Dugnan is coming to the line. The Frenchman is going to take 3 for 3 with the win here at his home track. But it's Mick Claridge who gets second place ahead of Timu Toika, who gets onto the podium here in his first broadcast race. 6th place is up for grabs as well. Gary Teal holding off Matt Wright. A well-earned P6 for the number 5. Wright gets 7th. Daniel Sadro 8th, and 9th is going to go to Marco Kika.
And Pavlovsky gonna get that P10. The battle for 13th still going on now, Joe. Rossi, Hideki Koivitso.
These are 2 drivers vying for that F2 championship. Hideki's way too far back, though, I think. Bit of a slide from Rossi. Whoa, no! And that is going to be it for Koivisto as they go by Robert Reynolds, who's trying to just stay out of the way. Hideki gets the car turned back around, but with a lot of damage.
Wow.
A little bit of chatter between the drivers about that incident at the end of the Mulsanne. Dave Price saying he was just kind of trapped in the middle. Fortunately, the toothpaste got squeezed out from that, as Bill would like to say. And Don Good is going slow. Did he run out of fuel?
Warner, did we miss the fuel calculation, Don? He's limping in there, Joe. No,
Yeah,
not enough momentum.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough. So with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, and stick around because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races on the GSRC. Welcome back here to Circuit de la Sarthe. We just watched the finish of round 3 for the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. Michel Dudignon, after losing out on the championship last season, has made his stamp known. Look at this, 3 for 3 on wins. Watkins Glen, Daytona, and now Le Mans. That's got to feel good here at this track for the Frenchman. Mick Claridge couldn't quite do it, but he did manage to beat Teemu Toika home. Mick taking second. Teemu, I hope he sticks around because clearly he is a fast driver. Gets third place. Dave Price, despite running into the wall on the last lap when chaos broke out at the end of the Mulsanne straight, he finishes fourth. Billy Bob Wright limps the car home to fifth place, also hitting the wall on the last lap. And then you've got a big gap back to Gary Teal taking a sixth place. He was fighting with the likes of Matt Wright, who finishes seventh. Daniel Sadro gets eighth, and Marco Kika comes home ninth. Angelica Pavlowski, right about where they finished, got on the grid in ninth and finished in 10th. Sean?
All right, and here we go, Joe. The rest of the field, Bruce Nelson, the Northwest driver, pulling the early shift today, will finish in 11th. Andrew Ng going to finish 12th today. David Rossi picks up a couple spots, finishes 13th. Hideki Koivitso gets into a little bit of trouble there late, but does manage a 14th place run. Pole Ferrer Unfortunately, we never got to talk about Pole, but Pole did finish 15th, picked up 3 spots. Michael Sullivan, that is a 16th place finish for Michael, and picks up 5 spots there to finish there. Dave Cohen with a 17th place finish today. Don, tell me something. Well, not entirely good today, but P18 good enough to pick up 2 spots. Robert Reynolds, 19th today. Simon Shaw, 20th. 21st for Rob Olenek. Tough day for Rob. Richard Morin, 22nd. And Philippe Burkhardt was the first driver out today and will finish 23rd, Joe.
All right, we've got some of our drivers ready to talk to, including second place finisher Mick Claridge. Mick, it was pretty frantic up there in the top pack, but talk about those last 2 laps and when you guys started to see Michelle get away. What were you thinking? Did you want to try to work together, or did you just say, I'll let him go and let's fight amongst ourselves for second place?
Oh, first of all, can you hear me all right, Joe?
Yep, we got you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, do you know what? I can't even remember the second from last lap. But I don't know what happened. I think I got damage early on, or well, I did get damage at some point. I looked at the rear chase view because I was so slow down the straight by the end of the race, and I mean, I was hitting the rev limiter at 221 when we were in the pack, and I was thinking, oh no, I should have geared it up a little bit more because I thought everyone in that pack would be at the end, So I was thinking, oh, I'm going to have trouble at the end. But no, when Michel got away, full respect to him. He really drove a good last lap. I mean, it's so easy to overdrive the lap when you've got a little bit of a gap, and you think, oh, if I can just get another good lap round the twisties, I'll be fine, and then I'll get a gap. He did that on the last lap, and that was a really good last lap he did there. Well, second from last lap as well too. But yeah, the last lap, when we got down to the end of the straight, I got behind Dave, and I mean, Dave was so much faster than me down the straight. I couldn't believe it. Even when I didn't have damage, he was faster than me down the straight. And so yeah, he, I knew I'd have to get, some sort of position for second at the Mulsanne corner. So when Dave went off in my mirror, I was panicking a bit because I was looking to the right just to see if he was going to slide straight across the apex. And I didn't even know Timu was next to me. So how we didn't touch, because I was going to take it wide, so Dave missed me. So I don't know how me and Timu got through that corner, but yeah, it was a good last lap.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how much you guys were able to keep track of everything that's going on around you. Now, talk about that little kink on the Mulsanne straight. In the past, I feel like I've seen more cars tend to want to take that single file, but this race, it looked like it was every man for himself.
Yeah, everyone's sort of used to doing that sort of too wide now. But yeah, there was a couple of moments. I think it was with Rob. I think he sort of missed the apex for it and slid right over. Had to go on the grass pretty much. I think it was Rob. I'm not too sure, but that happens a lot as well. You have got to think about what you're doing through there. And because a lot of guys want to take that corner at the limit because they want to be ahead by the time they get to the Mulsanne corner, because a lot of guys feel that they want to be ahead on the last lap there. So that's probably the best attacking point, That's probably why people run that at the limit and try and go for a pass there.
That makes sense. Well, congratulations on second. And good news is we're going to Suzuka, which is not as much of a draft track next week. We hope to see you come back in a week's time.
Yeah, cheers, Joe. Yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season now.
That was Mick Claridge, second place. Also, we've got Timu Toika, third place. And as far as we're aware, a bit of a newcomer here to the Lotus 49. Sean's going to talk to the Finn.
Timu, great job. It's not your first time in the car, but it's the first time we've seen you on the broadcast, or at least we think it is. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. This is indeed my first, at least, stream race. I did a bit of a shakedown race on Thursday, and I wanted to see if I can show my face around here, and that went pretty well, and I think I finished third there as well.
Well, your fans showed up. Everybody supports Fat Timu, including myself. So a job well done. Talk about how crazy the fight down the Mulsanne Straight was without those chicanes.
It was really intense. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that in any other car. The car slide around so much, it's unreal, and the kink just changes everything, even there, and it's sketchy going there too wide, and then people wanted to go there 3 wide sometimes. So
yeah. And the braking zones a lot harder to figure out in this car than they are in, let's say, a Nissan.
Well, yeah, the Lotus 49 has probably something like 3 times the braking zone the Nissan, so it requires a different mindset. So I think I'll have to test a bit before the tonight's camel race.
Yeah, and next week they head on over to Suzuka. Is that something you're willing to maybe prepare a little bit for and join us again next week?
Maybe I'll have to see if I'm here at that time. So definitely we'll test it out a bit and see if I.
All right. Well, hey, hope we'll see you here in just a couple hours. And again, congratulations on a great run here on the broadcast today.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Joe. Teemu Toika. Big run for him today. Gotta love it, man. Shows up and knocks out a podium.
Believe it or not, he was followed home in 4th by Dave Price, who had a monstrous wallop into the wall on the final lap. Tell us a little bit about that incident, Dave, and also the drive home. We had so much going on. We didn't get to see how your car was after that, and we were kind of amazed that you managed to get 4th.
You were amazed. Yeah, as we came in to, was it Mulsanne Corner? Mick was on my right and Teemu was on my left, and I was in the middle going, oh my goodness. And I just drifted, so I just couldn't get the front of the car to bite. I was trying to hold what felt like the middle of the track, but I just drifted probably a foot or so further left than I wanted, and that meant I just bumped into Teemu, who thankfully was able to continue. But I then span a lot of my tyres because I didn't want to just slide all the way through the corner and take everyone out. But in doing that, the back end came around. I just clipped the wall, but I think it must have just clipped the nose cone because the car felt absolutely fine. I wasn't expecting it to. I just thought I'd carry on and see what happened, and the car felt pretty good actually. So I was then a bit lucky. Poor old Billy Bob I think he dropped it on the way into Indianapolis, so I picked up probably an ill-deserved 4th. But great fun again this afternoon. Really, really fun race.
So we've now seen 3 tracks in a row with quite a bit of draft involved. Do you like running these types of almost, we called them Talladega-esque races during the broadcast? Do you like these, or would you prefer not to have as many of these?
I like all the tracks, to be honest. This is, we always have fun racing. As long as there's, good competition, then I'm happy. I think that it's kind of nice to have a few drafty tracks. It probably allows one or two of us to hang on to the back of Mick and Michelle, whereas other places we might not quite be able to. I don't know how they feel about that, but yeah, it's good fun. I think it makes for presumably an exciting broadcast as well. Lots of close racing and high speed. So I enjoy all the circuits, to be honest. I don't even know where we're going next week. Where is it next week?
Suzuka.
Oh, okay. Well, this is. I think we raced there a couple of seasons ago, but we raced the different configuration, the West circuit. I think we're doing the Grand Prix circuit. So turn 1 will be interesting there as well. That's quite tricky, difficult braking zone. So, but really fun track. So it should be a good race.
Yeah, I know just how technical it is trying to work around there. Well, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations on a 4th, and hopefully we'll see you in Japan.
Yeah, see you there. Thanks, guys.
That was Dave Price, 4th place today. Real quick, we're going to talk to a driver, another one who got away incredibly lucky, Gary Teal, talking to Sean.
Yeah, Gary, you had a moment there coming down the Mulsanne Straight. Talk to us about it. Gary, have you got me? I'll give Gary a second here to get his microphone worked out. He's probably still recovering from that moment
Yeah,
there.
still
on
in
the
shock.
Mulsanne. Still composing himself, Joe.
Maybe he had to change his race suit.
Nah, maybe we caught him at a bad time there. Yeah. Boy, I wish we would have had a chance to talk to Gary, but appears like we just can't get the wireless working down there. And trying one more time here. Gary, can you hear me now? You can probably hear me. He just can't talk.
Yeah.
He's speechless, Joe. He's speechless.
I would be too. Well,
Yes.
We're going to close up then. Unfortunately, we would have loved to hear from Gary, but maybe we'll talk to him next week. In the meantime, a big thank you goes out to the Lotus 49 community for bringing us back for another season, as well to iRacing for putting us on the iRacing Esports Network. If you enjoy this type of racing, make sure and subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, where you can catch all the action of the World Championship races, as well as action from other broadcasters here on the iRacing Esports Network. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head on over to our YouTube page, GSRC's YouTube page. Hit our big red subscribe button too, so that you don't miss a moment on the GSRC. Up next on IESN, we've got the Batteries Not Included series. We'll be back here on GSRC with them, of course, in just a few moments. But next week for Lotus 49, it'll be Suzuka, Saturday, January 5th. Next year into 2019, that'll be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern on Saturday. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.